Kaboom! Hello. Kaboom to you and to you.
Thank you.
Welcome to a new episode of your favorite partially hydrogenated YouTube show.
What?
Cream filled.
Filled with delicious creamy nougat.
Okay. The talkies.
The talkies, indeed. And today is yet another short film roundup.
Short film roundup.
Sunday.
All right. Throw out that disclaimer, Kenny.
Yeah.
The disclaimer is thus. What's our disclaimer? Oh, yeah.
We laugh at people.
We are going to be very critical of short films. That is what this show is all about. We have made about every possible mistake in the book as we've made short films and learned and progressed. So if you perceive us as being harsh or laughing at you, know that we are also laughing at ourselves.
Yep.
There is not a single screw up that any of you have made in these films that we have not made a dozen times.
Very much.
Ourselves. So it's all part of the process and all in good fun.
Nothing personal.
Yeah.
Except for some.
Don't send us hate
personal.
A little personal.
mail. Don't send us hate mail. Feel free to troll us.
Yeah.
Troll us all you
know.
like. You can hate all you like in the comments.
Yeah.
Just no actual hate mail, because who opens mail?
The difference is the postage. Because it costs money.
It costs money.
Yeah, don't waste your money.
Anyway,
right,
what do we got?
Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Our first short of the day.
Our first short of the day is Administration Hall.
Administration Hall.
It's written and directed by Young Jin Park.
Cool.
And there is a link in the description.
There sure is.
Why don't you click on it and watch it?
Go check it out. Watch
Check
it
it out.
before we talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Go.
Roll theater.
Whoa, hey, here we are.
Wow.
Welcome back.
That was pretty cool.
Yep. Okay, where to
Taylor.
begin?
Oh, me? I got to start out?
Taylor,
Aha.
All right.
what did you think of Administration Hall? What are your thoughts on it?
I thought there was a lot of cool elements to this movie. It's like everything didn't quite make it. So like they had a cool idea that was this. I always mispronounce the word, but it's totalitarian.
Totalitarian.
Tolkien-esque.
Tolkien-talitarianism.
Tolkien-esque.
Where it's this super strict kind of facility where there's like an underground uprising type group of people, and they use it looks like their college campus.
I'm
The
assuming
Administration Hall?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, this is definitely a college campus.
What's cool about it is they use that location in a way that makes a lot of sense.
That was neat.
Yeah, so you can see
It worked.
these buildings,
It worked.
actually being like
Yeah.
an office place. I think where the film kind of falls is a lot of the dialogue is kind of cheesy, and the lead actress is pretty good, but some of the performances around her is not the greatest. And some of the cinematography is a little bit like off balance or a little janky.
Yeah.
And I think the sound mixing was really all over the place. Like we had Kenny like on the fly mixing sound with the volume.
Right. Yeah. Volume
Because-
up and down. Yeah.
Like
we should have
footsteps or
recorded
so.
it.
We should have. Yeah.
Make complimentary mix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
my studios.
some footsteps were at -4,
Something like
while
that.
like some speaking was at like -30, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that was because it seemed like they used. I don't know if they used. If they did use a mic, they had the mic on the camera, so
Yeah.
it was very directional and
Sometimes I
proximity
couldn't tell.
based.
There were moments where it felt like they had mics, and
Yeah.
moments where it
Yeah,
didn't.
there was some
and
mixing
moments
that was
where I
pretty
think
good.
they foleyed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, they definitely had some Foley in there.
My main feedback from this is that it feels like an amateur first time effort made by rather proficient first timers.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like they were clearly all beginners and probably first timers on this project, but really a little bit better than anyone should be on their first outing.
That's exactly
that
what I got.
deserves high praise right
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They the one thing that we all brought up as soon as we watched it was, wow, that was really good for not such a good film.
Yeah. You know, it was close. One thing I do like about what they did is that many when you're making a short and you're low on resources, you got to work with what you got, right? And so we've seen several films where the thing they had was a school campus, and it's just very obvious they were using a school campus as their location. Last week we covered a film where like freedom fighters were shooting a terrorist hostage video, which was a little dissonant with shooting it on a college campus, right? It was very obvious they were on a college campus, and so why these terrorists had like security clearance at the local community college was weird. So it didn't mesh. But the names of the buildings and the style of the architecture of a college campus actually fits very well with this like regime of a totalitarian government.
Yeah.
It worked.
It was nice. Yeah, there were some parts that I thought this really shined, and that was when they didn't have dialogue, when they had shots that were purely on just the paper, purely on reactions. That was fine. I felt it was weird that they kept to wide shots almost all the time, so that when they came in, we had a distorted face and it looked like a comedy almost.
Yeah.
And some of the edits were questionable and stuff like that. But the really what tore it apart, I guess, at the heart, is really the dialogue, really what was written, and it's kind of hard to feel like I want to compare it to so many other films. I really don't know what to say.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Was the script written by the director?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Young-Jin Park.
Young-Jin Park.
Yes, written and directed.
So what I'd have to say to you, the writer of this script, is that at least at the time of this writing, you are not great at writing dialogue. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, there are extremely successful and accomplished screenwriters who write lousy dialogue.
Yeah.
You have to know your strengths and weaknesses, though. And so that means write scenes where you say more by what you see instead of people talking. Because where this movie really dragged was that long conversation between her and her friend where they exchanged the cigarettes.
Yeah.
It just like all fell apart like, oh, this is a bad movie. Whereas in the rest of the movie, it just kind of felt like, this is sort of gelling, this is holding, I can get into this world, I can feel some of the suspense. But when you let them talk too long, it really
takes you out.
It really takes us out because that dialogue isn't good. And writing good, believable dialogue is the single hardest thing in storytelling.
No, absolutely,
It's
it is.
really tough.
It's there's very few people who can do it well.
Yeah,
you know, it's
tough.
tough.
I mean, even sorry to cut in.
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin, he's an extremely
he's considered one of the best.
One of the best ever. Even him creates dialogue that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
It works because of his stylization, but again, he has to take that dialogue and make it into something in order to make it work. Is the thing. Like, people don't talk like that in real life, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's really funny because in the commercial for Aaron Sorkin's masterclass, the commercial starts off with him saying, I think he says something like, "Damn it, how could this happen?" And then he says no one ever. And he starts like pointing fun at, no one really talks that way. And it's funny because he writes stuff like that all the time.
Right, he does, yeah.
You know, so show more.
Yeah.
You know, let us see the story instead of dictating it, narrating it, because this is a visual medium.
Yeah, and I felt, I mean, like, a lot of the visual communication in here was good to make you feel like there was a
tension.
Yeah, there was tension.
Yeah.
Like it's. I think that's a very big compliment to give to to a short film such as this to say that you felt emotionally connected to the world that they were trying to build.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people get that right, and that's what this got right. Also, side note, color correction was like amazing. Just wanted to say that.
On the subject dialogue, I think it's good to do a movie like this that is heavy dialogue, just for the sake of practice and forcing yourself to get a bunch of dialogue out there, rather than just avoiding it forever. Dialogue does have its place, of course, and I felt like I got the impression that they had these monologue moments in mind from even before they probably, like, as key moments of the film, like the confrontation between the superior and our lead actress. Felt like a really key moment that had pretty good dialogue for that moment, I felt.
For that moment, it worked.
Yeah. But there definitely is a certain kind of finesse that comes with dialogue that is really tough to get, and using it comes down to, like, not only the word choices, but like the delivery, the editing, the pacing. It's all just hinging on so many factors to get it just right, and like the context of everything.
Yeah. It's
such a tricky thing.
Yeah. Ultimately, this was a movie about hopelessness.
Mm.
It ended on a rather sad
it did.
note, with her.
It was really cool.
With all these temptations of giving into hope.
Yeah.
Right? And then her at the end just saying, nah.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
And
cigarette.
I applaud that arc, by the way.
I applaud that too.
That's really cool.
That's a bold arc.
Yeah.
It's not a popular arc, and
Right.
It was fresh. I think it could have been much stronger if we just got to it quicker.
Yeah.
By leaning out, trimming the fat
on
on those dialogue scenes.
Yeah.
It also really could have used, you mentioned this earlier, how most of the film is shot on a wide lens of some sort. I don't know if they had like a zoom lens or something and they were just on wide or something.
It seemed like it was fixed.
Yeah.
I think so.
And it really did detract from the cinematic quality of the film, where it kind of felt like they didn't have choices. Like, I felt like it could have really improved from some longer lenses, some more, like, when it comes to facial stuff, like, it's really, unless you're going for like that really, like, what's it, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas kind of film,
right?
You don't really want to get super wide and close up because it is distorting your actor, and I really felt like the subject material of this movie and your location that you had really would have suited a more
longer
classically cinematic, longer kind of lens.
It was the situation, I think, really called for it.
Mm-hmm.
Although the one exception to that is I feel like that when you do a close up with a wide lens, it does give you the sensation of an all-seeing eye looking deep into your secrets.
You could say that.
Because it kind of feels like a higher perspective. It's not intimate. It's like
all-seeing,
sort of separate, and especially when you begin to just have the edges of fisheye coming in. That also sort of taps into like the security feed feel.
Yeah.
Which again adds a layer of paranoia.
The movie Unsane by Steven Soderbergh uses iPhone specifically to film, and they have a bunch of close-ups that are also distorted, but they do that for style. You can tell that even though he's stuck with this camera just as a limitation factor, that he really used it to his credit.
Yeah.
Check out that movie.
Yeah, and I think that's the key difference is, like, you can do that for style, and if it has a thematic purpose, you can totally do that. But in this instance with this film, I didn't get the impression that it was necessarily an intentional aspect to the film.
Right. And that's what you want to get, is intention.
Right. My last note is that I felt like the cinematographer had some genuinely good ideas with some of his, especially moving shots. He did one where he was sort of center frame on this very interesting looking stairway with a window in the middle, and then he rotates up to where they are, which
was cool.
Except it would have been so much cooler if it had stability.
Yeah.
the wobble in his handheld or her handheld, I didn't see the name of the cinematographer, was just enough to mess up what was otherwise a very artistic, cool shot. Same with when they did sort of this following shot through the door at the very beginning.
I liked that a lot.
It was a cool idea. Some stabilization would have gone a long, long way. Having a Osmo or something like that, or even just a basic Steadicam, would have really helped.
Yeah, what that does is, again, it takes away the idea of intent.
Yeah.
When you're going in there and you're wobbling, you're saying to your audience, this is meant to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, then it's obvious that it's not.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Shall I move on?
Yeah.
On to our next film.
Good work,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, very
awesome.
nice.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Alrighty, so our next one is Kiss and Tell, directed by Clinton Cornwell.
Link in the description.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead
check
and
it
watch
out.
it.
Watch it.
While you're watching it, I'm going to sneeze. Let's just wait for this to come. I'm going to sneeze. I know it's coming.
May I kiss you?
Hey, we're back.
All right.
All right.
Kenneth,
Yes.
what's up?
You know,
Taylor, what did you think of Kiss and Tell?
just waiting on a sneeze.
Kenny, what did you think of Kiss and Tell?
I liked this film. This actually is an example of pretty dang good dialogue writing, which is a real rarity in the short film world.
Yeah, like low budget amateur films.
I have a big comment, but
Yeah. Well, you can sit on your hands and wait. Thank you.
Get my thumbs up there.
Thank you. Thank you. Two at once. Wow. I actually sort of bought into the awkwardness of this intimate moment. I haven't had this exact experience, but I think I've been in a few
Very close. Right.
conversations like this before,
Yeah.
where you don't know how to act, and because you didn't know how to act, you missed something that could have been beautiful.
Yeah.
Maybe went on a little too long, but for a very, very simple sort of 3-shot configuration, dialogue-driven, romantic piece, character drama, basically.
Yeah, basically.
This was pretty strong.
It was very strong.
Yeah, I was really impressed, honestly.
I was too.
Yeah.
Great performances. Both parts.
Absolutely.
Me and Kenny both said to each other before, because there's like the subtitle, there's like, it's called Kiss and Tell, and then on YouTube there's like dash, and then it's like romantic comedy of an awkward moment, and then we looked at each other and we're like, this is 9 minutes long. It's going to be
I'm
one
like,
moment,
can
and
we
then
have
it's just going to linger on.
Yeah, it's just, last week we were talking about how having one gag be the centerpiece of your film means it needs to be a short film.
Yeah.
Right. And so we were nervous. We're like, oh no.
That's funny. I didn't know it was a comedy, or that they said it was a comedy.
Yeah,
it was
I
a
wouldn't
little
really
comedy
go-
in the
I mean,
beginning.
It
it's
played out
sort
as
of
like a dramedy.
drama, yeah.
It's sort of tragically funny.
Yeah.
But it's not. You don't laugh while you're watching it.
It delivers, like I think it justifies its runtime. Like I didn't actually, it felt a lot shorter than I expected it to, and it never felt like I never got the sense that like, okay, I get it. What else are you gonna do? As soon as I got that sense, it actually did change into this different kind of more dramatic tone, which I wasn't expecting either. And then I felt like genuinely invested into these characters, and how they were talking with each other felt very, very real.
It did.
I was really impressed.
I was exceptionally impressed when they started talking. Like we said in our first film, dialogue is very hard to get right, and I felt like this piece, I've done a piece like this before. What I did then was I had two people who were theater people, and had them just make up a story on the spot, and then I filmed it from one side and from the other side and from other angles.
Interesting.
And they more or less did the same thing, because they kind of just played off each other. And it worked tremendously. Like, it worked really well because they talked over each other, and they talked over each other at the same parts, at the same times, with the same rhythm.
And they were classically trained.
And they're classically trained thespians, So, like, when I looked at this film, it reminded me exactly of that. And I was like, this feels like two people that said, okay, now do this romance.
I could see this being improv if they are that well trained.
That's what it
Super
felt
good
like
actors.
because the dialogue felt so organic.
Well, that's what I mean. If this was written, then
That's
it's
so impressive.
very good
Yeah.
writing.
If it was written, holy crap!
Yeah.
you have exceptional writing skills.
And excellent directing.
Yeah.
It's
Because
pretty
this if it didn't organically arise, then that means this had some serious orchestration behind it.
Yeah, it felt. The reason why I say it felt more like this kind of improv thing is because the editing around certain parts felt almost a little forced, as if I have to cut here, kind of thing. And I could be wrong, and I hope I am. That would be awesome. But it did feel more improv-y. Not to say that that's bad.
Nah, it's cool either way.
Yeah, because it felt really, really good. I was too very, very invested with the characters. I was feeling very awkward when the awkward moment approached, and the only parts that I would give any kind of criticism towards would be giving a little bit too much length to some areas. You notice that their dialogue was kind of split into three parts. It was like the awkward moment, then it was the dramatic moment, then there was the resolution where he goes and comes back and everything. And they even acknowledge how they got there and everything. I really liked all of that, but I think they could have trimmed just a little bit at the ending of the first act, a little bit of the second, but really it was quite good.
I had something to say.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
So I have another comment on focus. Cinematography work.
Mm-hmm.
I do this shit all the time.
Yeah.
Where I have this exceptional, super super thin depth of field shot, and then the focus goes in and out a little bit. When we talked about having intent there, when you go out of focus for a shot that is that intimate, it looks like you're trying to do it, and so when it doesn't match the aesthetic, it really takes you out. At least for me, it does.
Yeah. No, I mean, their depth of field was so shallow.
Yeah.
That anytime they moved dramatically,
right,
they went out.
Went out of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like they were shooting on a full frame with whatever lens they had, which just happened to give this kind of look.
Yeah, which looked nice. It looked really nice. It actually gave it sort of like that fuzzy after a fun date feel.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of how you feel after a date, and you're sitting down, they're having drinks, and they're not exactly sure what's next. That's a fuzzy feeling.
It is.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. To give this movie a little bit more praise, I really like that. I really like when people make a movie with a very specific goal in mind, and then they do everything that they can to achieve the goal, and then that's what the whole film is about. And to me, this film did that with dialogue, where it was like, let's just get a dialogue driven relationship moment, like a very brief chunk of either maybe the beginnings, like you could see these people maybe even being a couple later on, just like the very beginning of this kind of relationship, and a very kind of miscommunication and awkwardness of that, and do it in a very raw way. They're not focusing on cinematography, they're not focusing on like editing as much, but just performance and delivery of that dialogue, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah,
I can really appreciate that.
I think you could really take this film, maybe trim it up a tiny bit. I don't know, maybe adjust the score or something, but you could put it into festivals. I mean, this is really good.
I'd be surprised if it hasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the type of film that should do quite well. And probably the biggest praise I can give it is that, for whatever reason, the 3 films that we ended up with today, they have something in common. And it's that all 3 managed to give a visceral sensation of emotion.
Yeah.
All 3 of them got me to feel some of the emotional pull that they were trying to, which is an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one was the only one, though, where I, at least for a moment, no matter how short it was, I forgot I was watching a movie because I bought in to that dude's predicament.
I did too.
I totally did, and I was rooting for him, And it was like every misstep he made, I just went, "Oh no, don't say that," and I found myself not wearing my tear this film apart helmet for parts, and that's quite an accomplishment. And the next film we're about to cover is an exceptionally well-made movie with a high budget, and to say that this was able to accomplish the at least the emotional aspect better, says a lot.
It does.
Yeah, it does. It says a lot about just filmmaking as a whole, and what do you need to make a good film? Not that much.
Not a whole
people,
lot.
a sofa,
and a camera,
And I just there's 3 shots really in this, but I'm assuming it's a 2-camera shoot. And they did the one thing that a film is supposed to do better than most of the short films we've covered so far.
Yeah.
That empathetic connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? The sound here I thought was actually great. So
Yeah.
I would say if it was bad, it would completely take us out of the moment.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, sound really ruins things.
Yes, it does.
I mean, Administration Hall would have been so much better if it had a good sound mix.
Just a good mix.
I mean, it was just all over the place. Even with the cheap microphones or onboard mics that they're using, if they just at least had it all mixed to the same levels, it would have made a huge difference. And that's why I always say invest in mics before you invest in lenses or cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have just a decent camera but a great mic, that's better.
Way better.
Than
Way
than
better.
a bad mic and a glorious camera. It
Absolutely.
just doesn't matter how good your image looks
Yeah.
if the sound is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extremely important.
Definitely important.
We should just say that at the beginning of every episode. Be like, sound, guys. Sound.
Yeah.
You think filmmaking's about the visuals. It is. When you decide to put sound in it, it's a whole different ballgame.
It's also an auditory medium as well.
It can be, right?
Well, if you think about we tend to think that our eyes are quite complex, but our ears are actually capable of a lot more in terms of interpreting the space around you and what's happening.
Right.
We talk about seeing in 3 dimensions, but our ears, we can't even sort of describe the dimensions our ears use in creating the shapes of what's happening all around us with things we can't even see. Years of evolving to be able to tell if there's a predator in the tall grass, behind you, has led us to a point to where if something doesn't sound right, it will completely disrupt the illusion.
Right. Building space with sound. Yeah, that's the thing. Cool.
Shall we move on?
Yep. On to our 3rd short of the day.
Amazing film.
Alrighty. Our 3rd short is Administration Hall again. No. Our 3rd short is Turning Point, directed and co-written by Joe Penna.
That is Mystery Guitar Man.
He is Mr. Guitar Man.
You don't say.
That's a OG YouTuber right there.
Yeah.
OG, yeah. Watch that short. It's quite awesome. Come back.
Yep. Link in the description.
Go. And we're back.
Wow.
What's up with that movie?
What is up with that movie? Oh, am I right?
Jeez. Well, okay, so I mean, let's just get it out of the way first.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
This was insanely well shot.
Crazy well shot.
Beautiful.
Super
and
well
we
produced.
said it as soon as we finished watching. The star of this movie is blocking.
Yeah.
The blocking. I mean, we talk about you having intent in the way you shoot.
Yeah.
There is not a second of this that was not completely, thoroughly planned out.
Absolutely.
And the result is beautiful.
Yeah, and rehearsed too, like
Yeah.
to a point. I mean, there was times where the camera is moving like this, and we're following, or so we're panning from right to left, and we're following the actress, but she's actually following the camera. The camera's panning, but we're not looking at her. She's walking into her blocking space, like very, very specifically, and it's like that's insane.
They used a gimmicky technique that is very common in music videos, where you have these motion shots where in the illusion of one motion shot you have multiple scenes happening without cutting.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's a cool effect. Most people simply use it because it's cool, and that's why it's gimmicky in most short films I've seen it in. Here it's used really well because it gave us the illusion of a lot of passage of time in what is actually a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
It worked really well for giving us this sensation of how she's pacing all around this house, becoming increasingly more paranoid and afraid, and the passage of the long night.
Yeah,
It worked great.
It was really cool to see jump cuts used in just a film, just as an aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I believe they shot. I mean, we haven't seen behind the scenes yet, but I'm pretty sure this is shot on a RoboCam because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, with the way that the jump cuts work and they don't interrupt the perfect camera motion.
Right.
It almost seems like you would have to do it on a RoboCam.
Yeah.
I really love that. At first, like right when she was patching up her suit and they started doing the jump cuts, I was like, I don't get why this is happening, but it definitely justifies it by being a passage of time, like you said. And what's cool about doing this hard jump cuts as opposed to the traditional crossfade of passing time through editing is a crossfade does pass time faster, but it feels slow. It feels like a long, arduous amount of time is passing. But by doing the jump cuts, they're still passing time in large chunks, but it doesn't stilt the fast pace, and it doesn't make it feel like a slog to sit through like it would if all those shots were crossfaded. That would be insane.
Yeah,
That
that'd be
would just
weird.
be stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's shot shot beautifully, just beautifully shot, well performed, well edited. The set dressing was phenomenal.
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved this set so much.
I have to wonder how much this was. Her costume looked pretty cheap, but everywhere was
Yeah,
her costume,
the set looked
her
great.
costume only looked cheap because the set was so good.
right.
Yeah.
That costume was way out of budget for most
Absolutely.
of the filmmakers we cover on this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, only because everything else was so
Was still good, yeah.
good. Her performance was really good. The
Yeah.
makeup was really good. I'm trying to get out all of the positive stuff before we dig into the criticism, because I think we have a lot to say about our criticisms, which are very few, and it's kind of nitpicky, but it's also has some deep
It's pretty key, I
ramifications.
think.
Yeah.
It's pretty key.
So I'll start off with my end, and I think then we'll spiral into your.
Where are we starting criticism?
Yes.
Wait, can I give some praise?
One more. Get some more praise out.
Praise. Sure.
Praise it. Praise the movie.
This movie is just expertly produced.
Yep.
And it's also, I think, a testament to pre-production and pre-visualization.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, I can't imagine any shot in this where they didn't, like, there's nothing improvised about this. It was all planned before from what I got out of the film. And all storyboarded, I'm sure, all pre-blocked out, and tons of rehearsal.
Absolutely.
Which I really love that kind of stuff, and I love how that can make the film a better product. And I really, really like blocking in general, and I like to see good blocking. That's just something I'm a fan of. And so seeing it done in such a deliberate and intended way is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a lost art, I
Yeah.
think. I think it really is. You can tell when a film has put a lot of thought into blocking. M. Night Shyamalan recently tweeted that that Hitchcock is not the master of suspense, but the master of blocking. And that watching his films and paying attention to the way characters move and cameras move through space, it's like a master class of blocking. And so the last time I watched The Birds, which was recently, I paid close attention to that. And it's true. It's just like, it's so noticeable
Yeah.
when the time has been taken to create a map
Yeah.
that reinforces the story.
Yeah. Seven Samurai is also a really, really, really,
Yeah.
really good blocked out movie.
Yeah.
Or Citizen Kane, but
Yeah.
that's a whole nother ballpark. You want to get into criticism?
I do.
Do you have something specific you want to bring up?
Two things, and they're related. It's the beginning and the end.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with emotion? Because I may want to bring that up first. Because I feel like what you're gonna say is gonna take over the episode. So I
Right.
just wanna-
No, it's not. It's not specific to emotion.
Okay, so just really quick about blocking also. Just a small criticism. Well, you said on the previous film that you almost forgot we were watching a movie. Mm-hmm. This one, because of the kind of cinematography that it does and because of its gimmick of cut, jump cuts and whatnot, and even rotoscoping in there, you're always, at least for me, constantly aware that you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Which is not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Interstellar, I was constantly aware I was watching a movie.
And you're going, this is a cool movie I'm watching.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It doesn't achieve the emotional response that I believe is very important to connect with your audiences. However, it engages completely through visualization. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Almost the camera motion was almost a poem in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
And it did add to the emotional pull while also preventing you from sort of dissolving into the experience.
Right.
You know, while I felt empathy for what the character was going through, I never felt like I was going through it with her.
Right.
And I think that is a shortfall.
Yeah, there's definitely I'm not exactly sure why I felt this way or exactly why I didn't feel this way. What I'm saying is I didn't really feel anything from this movie when it comes down to it. Like, I didn't really feel... I felt bad for the character, of course, where it's like, oh, that sucks. You've got a disease and you're dying and your loved ones are not happy because you're dying.
Right.
But I was just... Beyond that, I wasn't that invested, I guess,
Yeah.
in the actual character. I wasn't necessarily feeling that much anxiety from it. You know, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, because it is so well done.
There's a big emotional thing I have with movies about emotional stakes, and Marvel does this all the time, where I feel like it's a thing called, oh, that sucks. It's just that over and over and over. You're like, oh, that sucks. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that sucks. It's never, oh, come on, you can do it. You know, it's never, oh shit, that should never have happened.
Yeah.
It's always, oh, that sucks. And it keeps you distant, and I think like you said, I think it's a shortfall.
Well, I think there is an answer to why you never really felt anything other than moments of saying, whoa, cool.
Yeah.
Look what they did there. That's cool.
Yeah.
This is really cool. I think we can call it the Ocean's 8 phenomenon now, which is a larger conversation we wanted to delve into.
Yeah.
This is a slice of another universe, and we see an experience a person has existing in that universe.
Yeah.
What we don't really see is a traditional story with an arc, which allows us to really tie into and empathize with a character.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Which was the first thing you said when this movie ended.
Absolutely, it was.
No arc.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind. And so, when I don't know if this is a personal quirk or not, but we talked about this briefly, where if I'm watching a short film or any film, actually, of any kind, I feel like I should have my expectations somehow met first before I go into it.
Preempted.
So preempted, prerequisite, or whatever. Like, there's, like I said, with YMS, YourMovieSucks.org guy, he had said, hey, there's this really great film, you guys should watch it. Just know that, if you don't like these kinds of films, you probably won't like it.
He was referring to the Terrence Malick film Night of Cups.
Yes. So, which is basically prose, like the entire thing.
Yeah, it's like a tone poem, more or less.
So like, if you were to watch that movie thinking, okay, that we're going to follow this character, go ahead and just, like any other movie, like if I were to go into there thinking that it was just going to be an arc, I'd be severely disappointed by the end. But, I don't know if that's a fault of the filmmaking. I don't know if that's a fault at all. I don't know if that's even a fault just with the viewer or just with myself.
I think that's a fault with expectations and having them in the first place.
I mean, it can be, but with any experience, I think that comes forward, is that you want to know what to expect. This is from person to person. This isn't a criticism. Usually, with an experience, you want to know what to expect first, so that you can immerse yourself fully into that experience. Some films, I feel like, don't need that. There's a film that we watched all the time that we really like called The Third and the Seventh, I think. The Third and the Seventh, which is all just complete CG, amazing. Spoiler. It's all just amazing cinematography. But never in there are you expecting it to go somewhere,
There's no story.
There's no story. And there's been other movies like that with characters, like Melancholia was one where I had watched it. I was not expecting this to follow a character into an arc that she learns something and then comes back down. Like, it's because it wasn't presented that way. Ocean's 8 was giving us an arc, a starting point, where these characters are headed, giving them a challenge, and then they just completed without any conflict. And that, I felt like, failed at a story point because of what was expected.
And so you're saying this relates to Turning Point, because in Turning Point, there's brief setups of things, or what do you? How does this topic of yours?
Because immediately from the get-go, we're interacting with or we have a very intimate shot of a character who is freaking out because her suit has gone wrong or something. So she puts it back on and suddenly radios and says, hey, I'm exposed, and she's crying, and we're like, oh no, what's going to happen to her? And we're invested. And then we just kind of see this downfall of this character, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so I'm expecting to go into a journey with this character because we're so invested right off the bat.
To play devil's advocate, can you argue that the journey was the downward spiral?
No, yeah, that's definitely what it was.
And if that's the case, then why didn't it work, I guess?
I don't know if it's like I said, a personal quirk or what, but I was expecting a story, and I didn't get one.
To me, expectations are not a problem. I try to approach a movie with none.
Yeah.
And so when this movie ended, I really didn't. I didn't have a problem with the fact that it didn't have a real story arc. I've seen a lot of short films that don't have a story arc and that are really just about tapping into an experience or an emotion. I think that can work almost uniquely in short films. That gets problematic as a piece gets longer, in my opinion. And so I felt like this worked as a slice out of another world that is sad, right? But the more I've thought about it, it's not that I felt this movie failed, but the more I think about it, I feel like it could have been better if it did have more of a story arc in there.
That I would say it could have been way better.
Yeah.
Or at least like, and if it is going this, what we've discussed as a tone arcless kind of experiential film, I think it should have been like 5 or 10 times more intense than it was. Like the intensity of that experience needed to come through.
So that's just it, I think, is that once we get to the point where she realizes she's infected and she's going to die, we basically just watch her die.
Right.
She says goodbye, and that's it. You know, if she had something heroic that she could have accomplished in the time she had left, like making sure those samples were preserved and passed on into the right hands, and was fighting against a clock as this disease overtook her, you know, there's a story. But instead, nothing else really happened. And I think that's the shortfall, is that nothing happens.
Yeah.
And we also were confused by the ending.
I'm actually confused by the beginning and the ending. This is something I wanted to bring up earlier. So the movie starts with her unconscious on the floor with her helmet off. Now, having a helmet off and next to you raises all kinds of questions in this quarantined world where there's this highly infectious disease. Why is her helmet off? What happened? So you can't raise a question that big and then just ignore it for the rest of the story, because you're literally raising a flag and saying something big happened before this. Let's unravel what that was. But we never do. We never come back to it, and that frustrated me a little bit. I wanted to know how she got into that point. You know, we find out later that there was a team who didn't make it back, and that they were swarmed, she said, by something. But that certainly doesn't explain. She escaped the swarm by jumping into this house and pulling off her helmet. Why is the helmet off? That was too much of a leap to just ignore it.
Well, because the whole film is based on that thing that happened. And so if we don't explain it, then it is left confusing.
And she has a hole in her suit,
yeah,
which could have been enough to explain how she's been contaminated. So why have the helmet off if you're not going to tell some story about why her helmet was off? To me, it was just distracting. Now, the end was even more problematic, because what we had was her just disintegrating. She's just getting worse and worse as the moment's going by. By the end, blood's coming out of her eyes, which, by the way, was a masterful effect.
Yeah.
They did that
really nice,
really well. And that's a hard one to get right.
Yeah.
And then she ties herself up, to prevent her from attacking the team. She said she'll make sure that she's not a problem when the rescue team gets there. So what I'm seeing is she's tying herself up so that when the rescue team comes, they won't be attacked by a zombie or whatever it is she's turning into. But as the night passes, she appears to be cured. Not only cured, but cleaned. She's even the house looks cleaner.
Like almost it was a dream type of thing.
So she wakes up, and the ropes she just kind of pulls them off her hands, which makes me think she didn't tie herself up very well.
Yeah, so I was thinking too.
Even if she is a zombie, she's just pulling those off, right? So I was led to think, okay, she's cured, or it was a dream, or I don't know what happened here, but the change was very pronounced and dramatic.
Yeah.
It didn't look like she just recovered. It went too far for me to just feel like that aerosol drug she took maybe cured her or something. I don't know. And then the rescue team shows up, and she crawls forward, and they pull their weapons out and point them at her. Or at least one of them starts to and hesitates. The second one clearly points it at her.
Yeah,
and then we
pull the trigger even.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to shoot her. And we cut to black. And when an ending is that ambiguous, without giving you enough to know what was happening in the first place, it kind of distracts you from how awesome the rest of the movie was.
Right.
And that's sad.
Yeah, it doesn't leave you with a question of, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. It leaves you with a question of why.
Yeah.
Why what just happened.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and when you're left with that, like you said, it's distracting. So that when you keep remembering the movie, you remember that part that didn't get answered, as opposed to the rest of the movie, which was so fun.
I mean, it could have actually ended where she was tying herself up and her eyes are all glassed over looking.
Yeah.
She's definitely on the verge of turning, and she just closes her eyes and either dies or falls asleep. It could have just ended right there, and I think it would have been a stronger movie.
I think so, because they explained everything that happened up to that point, and to not introduce any more questions would be fine.
Yeah, and that's what the ending did, was that it introduced questions instead of answering them, which an ending can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you can have an ending where it's like, oh man, what happened?
But its trajectory is different. Like when Inception, when
The spinning of the
Yeah.
top.
Like we understand all the implications of everything. What happens next is then a trajectory forward. It's not retroactive.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So this thing is saying a question of what just happened. Was that all blah, 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 blah? And it's like, if you're answering questions about something that happened throughout the movie and you just leave them unanswered, it makes you feel gross. It makes you feel like, well, wait, why did I just watch the movie then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, if she had just closed her eyes or just died or something like that, we would have been able to kind of just live with the experience and be like, wow, what an experience.
That's how I want to feel, because this film was a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
And achieved things visually that I can't achieve yet.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
that's really good work.
It's really good, yeah.
But yeah, the ending does just kind of it just leaves a bad taste.
I wanted to bring up, I hate saying that films should have been a different way, because I feel like that's just not valid.
Right.
But I'll tell you, when she was holding the gun to her head, and I'm like, oh wow, that's like, this is interesting. Where after she was on the radio and she said, I'll make sure I'm not a problem, and she has the gun, I'm just like, holy crap, so you have to kill yourself knowing that you're going to be an issue. And then when she tied herself up, and I thought that was kind of weird, because she had this permanent ending there, I was thinking, wow, what a cool idea for a movie is her knowing she's going to be a problem and then dealing with this decision. Do I kill myself? Do I not? And can I see if I'm going to get better, or am I not?
That's a weird little plot hole, now that I think about it, that she went from about to shoot herself so that she's not a problem, and then changing to tying herself up
to see if the medicine would work.
It seemed like it was like it was kind of weird, because
they made it sound like the medicine was to prevent infection.
Yeah. So it's she's.
If they had a cure, then what are they doing out here in the first place? They could have just aerosoled this whole world and cured everybody.
She gets infected. She says she's in her hazmat suit still. She has it patched up, and she's like, I took the medicine. I didn't get a full dose, so I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm still in the hazmat suit. And then she's like talking on the radio with the guy. And then after that moment, she basically just gives up, and she takes off her suit. And at that point, she fully infects herself.
Yeah.
I don't understand exactly why she would just give up like that. And then if she's going to just give up like that, why she would then be hesitant to shoot herself in the head.
That's what I mean. It's like she now knows she's going to die.
Yeah.
The one little piece of genuity that I really liked was the strawberry jam reference.
Oh yeah.
When she was talking to, I'm guessing, her husband or boyfriend.
Yeah.
Her love. And she said, they have strawberry jam here. Like, that was a really nice moment, as it gave us a peek into her humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what was missing through the whole thing.
I think so. Some of it.
Yeah.
Have either of you seen the film Buried with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Have you?
No, I haven't.
Do you? So you remember when the whole film is about him on the cell phone?
Yeah.
Like, that's the entire film. And this really reminded me of that a lot, where she's on the radio and you have to explain this whole story through the radio. And I felt like for the most part they introduced the universe pretty well, but didn't really get to see a chance into her character or something. There was a little bits of there, like you said, the genuineness of her talking about strawberry jam, and there was bits of her saying about the infection, and she didn't get a full dose. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of her character in there. Not that it's necessary. It would have made it a different film.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have that. I think in the film, in the situation of what this film has, where I don't know, it just kind of didn't make me feel anything, and so I'm repeating myself at this point, but it needed more strawberry jam.
More strawberry jam.
I like that. I think we've added something to the vernacular now.
Yeah.
We need to inject more human empathy into a story. It's adding strawberry jam.
Yeah,
All right.
either
I
more,
like it.
more strawberry jam if you're gonna go story wise, or if you're gonna go experiential wise, it needed to be 10 times more intense and more visceral.
Right. Go one way or the other all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to see the end before we get there, and too often I'm good at it. But where I thought this was going, I thought that Carson was her kid when she said, "Can you get Carson for me?" After so I thought it was going to be a kid. And then she clearly waited for them to respond for a long time, and then she's thinking about shooting herself. And I thought, "Oh, I see the ending. This is going to be good." She's going to shoot herself in the head. She's going to fall over dead, and then we're going to hear her son's voice on the walkie-talkie just say, "Mommy, mommy," and then it ends. And I was like, "Ooh, that's going to be heavy." But it didn't go that way, and it wasn't heavy.
Oh well.
Oh, I wanted to bring up. Oh, guess what film I'm going to talk about?
Mother. Oh, okay.
So,
You do talk about Mother a lot.
yeah, we still haven't done that episode.
No.
I love that movie.
It's a deeply moving film.
Yeah.
So Turning Point reminded me of Mother in the sense that we were talking about expectations again.
Mm-hmm.
And in Mother, we had this expectation. I know me and Kenny did when we went into there. We're following this character, and it's going into an arc, and we're like, oh, it's explaining, it's introducing questions. We're trying to figure out what's going to happen, and then it just devolves into madness, just absolute madness.
Yeah.
Now, you said something after we watched Turning Point, which was if a film gets itself completely on point, that it doesn't need to provide expectation because you understand everything that's happening. So,
Yeah, well, I think what I said was that when a film's really dialed in, when it's, a perfect movie,
Yeah.
it won't matter what your expectations are.
Right.
Because discovering what the movie is what gives you the most satisfaction and joy.
Now that, I think, works perfectly for movies like Mother, where you thought it was going to go one way, and then it completely just changes direction, but it changes direction so abruptly and with such fierce what do you call it, what's the word,
It's just bravado.
Vitriol for the audience.
Vitriol.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
hated the audience.
Yeah. So it changed with such force that it rips you out of the movie, and for a good reason. It rips you out, and you're just like, oh wow, and now you're enjoying the experience, and now you know what the movie's about. Like, I have no qualms with that, because I experienced it, and like you said, I discovered where it was going to go, and I feel like that speaks to it. I think that's a testament to that kind of filmmaking.
All right.
Yeah, definitely needed intensity. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this anymore.
I think that's it. Beautiful, beautiful film.
Yeah, really
very,
well
very
produced.
cool.
Super cool
And it was
movie.
fun to watch the first
Yeah.
time through anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to see more.
Yeah.
You know, I think you guys are capable of some awesome things.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it was creative as fuck.
Yeah.
So.
Creative AF.
So
Dank, you might say.
if you have a film you want to submit, we're always looking for submissions. You can submit your film, short film, on our subreddit, r/Carmen Line Studios. Link is in the description. We have a thread up there right now. We keep it updated as submissions roll in. There's no limitations on how big or little, or how much or how little experience you have.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We all want to learn from all of them.
Yeah, and it's actually been pretty awesome watching these
very
films.
fun experience.
It's been very cool.
This is my highlight of the week. I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, it used to be the highlight of my week was our what we do on Friday, which is go see a new release and cover it. You know, the other half of the talkies, we're talking about Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
And this has become more interesting to me.
Way more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
except for when a movie like Hereditary comes out.
Yeah, then that's a little
That's different.
That's
But-
different.
That's a special.
But outside
movie.
of that, I prefer to be working with with our colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the indie filmmaker world.
Contemporaries.
They have a lot more strawberry jam than the Hollywood movies do.
Yeah,
Really, they do,
that's the
actually,
thing.
yeah,
Like
that's
I,
true.
I enjoy a lot of these films more than most of the Hollywood theater films that we're going to go see, just for the fact that the people making all these films, regardless of how the final product may or may not be, it's
Right.
all from passion. It's all because they want to make these films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
They
just
care
can
about it.
appreciate that
Yeah.
on a base
now,
level.
even though I said that Turning Point suffered from Ocean's 8 phenomenon, Ocean 8 syndrome, I enjoyed it way more
Oh, yeah.
than I enjoyed Ocean's 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And there is not a single short film that we've covered that was worse than Winchester.
none,
None.
none of them are that
Seriously,
bad.
though.
That is a bad movie.
Winchester's terrible. Whoa.
Okay,
Well,
I think we've
Yeah,
done
we're
our
about
duty
done
here
here.
for the week.
Yeah.
Hope that if you haven't yet, that you submit one of your shorts and that we get to destroy it and praise it here on the Talkies. And until next time, I'm Kenny,
I'm D.
I'm Taylor.
and we'll see you at the Talkies.
Peace out.
Bam.
Bam. This is good coffee, yo.